And new tonight, a source telling one of our 8 News Now investigators that a man has been arrested following a 30-year-old escort's death. The crime allegedly happened back on the 12th at Palms Casino Resort Hotel, but the suspect, 35-year-old Jason Kendall, turned himself in this afternoon to face murder and sexual assault charges. Now, he's due in court tomorrow. The escort died at the hospital several days after the incident. Metro Police have not provided an official version of events to us just yet.
So they call it the world's oldest profession. And somewhere in the seedy underbelly of the Las Vegas Strip, the place they call Sin City, this is actually taking people's lives. And we're going to talk about those cards that you see, the escort cards. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of this industry in Vegas, what's legal and what's not legal, and we're going to explain how in 2024, 2 women have lost their lives doing the world's oldest profession here in town, and how in 2023, several tourists have also succumbed to the same fate. My name is Steven. I'm now leaving Las Vegas. We got a lot to unpack here, so let's talk about how people are losing their lives based on those naked lady cards that they try to shove in your face on the strip, okay? And speaking of videos and video topics and sensitive things, this might be a trigger warning for some of you, but I finally started talking daily chats on my thoughts on stuff that's happening in society. It's not always politics, but I am a conservative and I will not introduce that to the channel. Don't worry, I'm not here to do anything but Vegas content for you on this channel. But if you are interested, go check out my other channel. I will put a link up in the first pin, and I hope that you don't rage quit me just because you don't agree with my politics, because that's a nasty way to be. All right, let's talk about what's happening in the oldest industry on planet Earth. You know, lot lizards, call girls, working girls, ladies of the night, those kinds of things that I can say as innuendo so I don't have to get myself demonetized on YouTube. Now, this is a sensitive topic, and we have to talk about why this even happens, so we're going to have to cover a little bit of the history of the subject here in town, go over from the early days of Las Vegas up until the modern times what the laws really are, and then we're going to cover how people have lost their lives visiting the city and interacting with these kinds of folks who are offering these services, and how these kinds of folks who are offering these services have actually died this year. And these are the only 2 that I know about, but there may very well be more. It's weird, and I've been trying to make this video for a long time. I actually have my iPad in front of me with some information. Let's get on with it. So, the oldest profession in the world is legal in Nevada. True or false? The answer is that is true, but it's not really what you think. And it's created a level of ambiguity that's causing people, I think, to get themselves into big trouble here. But dating back way far back to about the early 1900s and the genesis of the city and the township of Las Vegas, a man named William Clark rolled into town. We named Clark County after him. And he bought 1,000 acres of land downtown near the rail line and then proceeded to parcel it off and subdivide it. And one of those sections was, I believe, called Block 16. And Block 16 was like the old Wild West version of Vegas. Lawlessness everywhere, people having drunken brawls, people gambling, people doing, the oldest profession in the world. Nobody really did anything about it, but about 30 years later, after Prohibition had come and gone and it was fired back up again, the U.S. military took an interest in Nevada, building Hoover Dam, doing atomic testing in the 1950s, and slowly but surely, that kind of business, the oldest profession, the ladies of the night, they got pushed to the outskirts of the city and banished to a place that was literally a red light district in the city limits of Las Vegas. But that wasn't enough, because they wanted to get rid of that stigma in town, so they passed laws in Nevada that made it illegal in any county over a certain amount of people and population. So the 2 major population centers being Las Vegas and Reno, made it illegal in those specific counties to do that business, pushing the business even further outside to what are now called the cat houses. If you're interested, Jacob's Life in Vegas did a good video on this. He explored one of these types of cat houses or chicken ranches or whatever you want to call them. And it was his first video that went viral, so lots of props to him. And after that, we started seeing a different type of business emerge in Vegas, and that would be the card slappers. The ones that slap the cards and get your attention. And speaking of attention, if I've gotten your attention 4 minutes in, be sure to subscribe to this channel. We cover interesting topics like this that nobody else does. I do live streams here on the Strip as well. And so you guys will see things you've never seen on Not Leaving Las Vegas. And I cover in-depth topics. Nobody's talking about this. We have to. So subscribe now. Tell me you subscribed in the comments. Let's get back onto it. The new type of Vegas and business in Vegas. It was the business of arming somebody up with little tiny cards about the size of a playing card, having them stand on Las Vegas Boulevard on public property or somewhat public property, slap the card twice, and give it to you. And what's on that card? A half-naked lady and a price, advertised as a price. Now you might say, like, well, how is that even legal, right? I thought you just told me that they made that business illegal in the city, and so that can't be legal at all. Well, let's see, there's a few things at play here. The first thing at play is that those people are just practicing their First Amendment rights. It's no different than if you had an insurance business and you wanted to sell life insurance and you went to Las Vegas Boulevard and you slapped a flyer twice and said, buy life insurance today because you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, and prepare for your family's future. So anybody can do that kind of business. And the other part of it that is also legal is the fact that escort services are not illegal. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's a certain one place in the entire country where it's illegal to pay somebody hundreds of dollars just to go to a movie or a dinner and a show with them. The problem with those services is that it is very illegal to do the other stuff, trade money for those types of services. I'm really working hard. YouTube censorship, don't ban this video. Yeah, that's where it becomes an illegal process. And that's where we get problems. But the problems arise more so because those people that do those services, they're taking advantage of the fact that most people that visit Vegas don't fully understand that that business is not legal. They just hear that, the oldest industry in the world, the ladies of the night are legal in Nevada. And like I said, that is true once you get out of the limits of Clark County and Washoe County. But what they fail to realize is that it's completely illegal in the city. So when they're presented with the card, they call the card. Or when a girl walks up to them in the casino and says, hey, you looking to have a good time tonight? They think it's legal and they go with the girl, which is how people started dying in 2023. A man went up with a couple of girls that he had met to his room at Caesar's Palace, and I don't know exactly what happened because they'll never tell you. The news gets buried out in this town as quicker than a guy who did the gangsters wrong back in the mobster area of Vegas getting buried in the desert. But he went up to the room, and something happened, and he was shot in the stomach, and he proceeded to lose his life. There was some other instances last year of this happening with a visitor that was here from South America, meeting a couple of girls and getting trick-rolled, as they call it, in that business, and losing his life. And another man who was at a nightclub, a major nightclub at Caesar's Palace, going and back to their Airbnb, being followed by the girl and having a whole team of home invaders invade the Airbnb, lock them up, rob them, and just ride off into the sunset. But it's only started affecting the girls that are working in the industry this year. And we have those two cases right now. The first case is relatively tame. The second case, it goes into like borderline hitman territory. I can't even make hide nor hair of it, and the details are scant after the event has happened. The first case actually happened at the Palms. At the Palms Hotel right off the strip on Flamingo Road, where a man apparently hooked up with one of these girls who was offering her services, and she had herself online with a couple of pseudonyms. He brought her up to the room, negotiated a price, and then proceeded to start getting down with business. Now, when he originally called 911, EMS, whatever services you want to call it, he told them that the girl had an overdose. And when they arrived, they found her unconscious on the floor of the room, with him being gone from the scene, with blood on her mouth. What ended up really happening, though, was that when they got her back and did the toxicology reports on her corpse, because she never survived, it ended up she was not on any discernible amount of substances that would cause an overdose, and she had actually been strangled to death and assaulted in the style of the S word that I can't say because of YouTube censorship reasons, right? So the man actually ended up turning himself in about 10 days later. He walked right into police headquarters, guilt laying on his consciousness, and he told them what really happened, and that was that he brought her up to the room. They negotiated a price, $2,000 to do the horizontal hokey pokey mambo, whatever you want to call it, and she upped her price. And he didn't like that, and he just kind of went into a rage. Maybe it was alcohol induced, they don't say in the police reports. And he proceeded to just assault her and wail on her to the point where she lost consciousness. And he freaked out and he called 911 and told him it was an overdose, reported anonymously, and fled the scene. Now he's facing, charges like strangulation and all these different things like assault and basically open murder charges here in the Valley. So he'll go to prison for that, I'm sure. But the second case is the more tragic case because it involves a single mother with 7 children who was found at the MGM Grand back in January after a friend who knew she was in Vegas, who had been chatting with her, just didn't hear from her for a very long time. So the girl went up to a room and told her friend, her text friend, that she was going up to the room. And she went up to the room and she was found several days later after he put in a wellness call for her, lying naked, face down on the bed with a gunshot wound to the back of the head. You might be asking, how did people in the casino not hear a gunshot go off? Wouldn't security be all over that? How could she be in the room for several days with music playing on the radio with nobody knowing that she was there? Well, that is where this tale gets really, really complicated and absolutely bizarre, okay? So I'm not going to say the names of any of these people because I have to live here and I don't want to get myself in hot water with their families, and these are still active cases. But you can look them up if you just use the search terms in my story that I'm giving you to see the reports. When they found the man, they found him with several things that you wouldn't think. And this is where we spiral off into the conspiracy theory that there might have been some kind of actual hit out on this girl for some reason. Yeah, when they found the man, they found him with several fake IDs, her social security number her social security card in his wallet, and a silencer. He wouldn't give his birth date to the officers, and he told them that he found all of that stuff in a bag off of Blue Diamond Road, which is about 4 miles away south on Las Vegas Boulevard from the MGM Grand. To make things even more bizarre in this case, the room wasn't registered to the man because he had used a false ID to check in, but it was registered to somebody else entirely, which leads me to believe that the MGM Grand is possibly not checking IDs with proper scanning technology, because there are ways to scan IDs to make sure that they're legitimate. You know this if you've ever bought alcohol. They know that a fake ID will pop. But what it looks like happened here is that the man who went to the room with this young lady, they have the security tape of that happening, and then put a silencer on a weapon and took her life away and then fled the scene on a bus. It looks like he booked the room somehow through a third-party proxy, which they haven't said who that person was. And when that was booked, he gave one of the fake IDs that he was carrying on with him as one of the names, and then he showed up a few days later, got the room keys, took the girl to the room, and then snuffed her life out and then fled the scene, and then lied to officers about it. It turns out he had 9 different felony charges in an East Coast state, which I don't want to name. It's all in front of me right here, but again, I'm just giving you the broad overall 10,000, 40,000 foot kind of view of all this stuff. So this is such a convoluted case, and the case about what I can find online, it goes completely dead. Goes completely dead in March of this year. Nobody has said what's happened to this case. But this girl, again, she had 7 children and she was a working mother. But when you look up her record shows that she had been actually popped for solicitation and arrested and booked for solicitation in the past on the Las Vegas Strip, which leads me to believe, again, it's an escort-related case. But it is so tragic that these things are even happening, and I just have to wonder, how can they get to that point? And how can we make it so it doesn't happen any longer? I mean, I think the simplest thing would just to be a public awareness campaign. Start to put brochures or something in taxis. I mean, start to educate the people about what's legal and what's not legal here. And even that public awareness campaign might just eat into the money of those card slapper companies that are actually profiting off the backs of this kinds of business that leads to these kinds of deaths. But nobody's doing that because money talks, and that's just how Vegas is set up, I suppose. But I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know if it's girls thinking that they can get into this business and just get out, because I'm going to tell you, based on conversations I've had with licensed 501c3 type charities that help girls get out of these situations in town, that it is not a game that you go on for a long time and win. Ultimately, you end up either dead or abducted or sold into trafficking. So let's just hope that something changes out here, and let's just hope that people wake up and stop looking at those naked lady cards as an opportunity to do something that's illegal here because they don't know what's illegal here. And let's just hope that these girls can find a better way to help themselves out somehow. But that's my thoughts on it, that's my takes on it, and it's been a video that I've been mulling around in my head if I was going to make it for a very long time. I'm going to try to make it so YouTube doesn't demonetize and then suppress this in the search algorithm, because that's a pain. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think this is something that should be completely legal? Do you think it should be illegal? Let me know in the comments below. Quick commercial break at the end. If you guys are looking for a website, I do websites for people. It would be my pleasure to help you with that. I do great websites. We build it on a platform where you can do your own updates, and you don't have to be beholden to me once the site is finished to just change a simple photo or a menu at your restaurant for you. So reach out to me. I'll put my Google Voice number in my email below. My name is Steven. I'm not leaving Las Vegas. Thanks for watching, sharing, and liking. Love you guys to death. We'll get you guys on a live stream this weekend. And until I see you next week on a video like this, I say 3, 2, 1, click. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and click.